my fellow Americans, Michiganders, those in Jackson, Lansing, Grand Rapids, and Detroit. Thank you for tuning in to ACVN, the American Conservative Values Network, dedicated and committed to those precepts and principles that have made this nation great: the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Emancipation Proclamation. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule from time to time to tune in to this program and listen to the discussions and dialogue in as much as we feel that what we are discussing pertaining to issues that affect all of us are pertinent to you as well as to all involved. Today I have with me the distinguished Andrew Barnett, running for president, recommended by the National Frederick Douglass Society, and of course bringing to bear many ideas that need to be reincorporated in the American political system pertaining to values, virtues, and morality that is the future and is the underpinning of the future of this nation. I want to welcome Mr. Andrew Barnett at this time to our program. Mr. Barnett.
Thank you for having me. Wonderful.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be a part of this discussion and this program. Today we have with us on the circuit of the Republican ticket, and you're considered a conservative, running as a conservative. But there are approximately 8 or 9 candidates that are out there. The front runners are Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, and Herman Cain. These individuals seemingly are garnering the majority of the percentage of the GOP vote, which stands for, by the way, to our audience, for the Grand Old Party, the Grand Old Party vote. And many are prognosticating that Mitt Romney probably will be the nominee. You are running to raise the consciousness and to raise the bar in terms of discussions pertaining to the moral and social and virtuous aspects of society, things that are absent today, that have been extricated by the secular progressives and by the secular progressive institutions that have been hijacked by the doctrine of secular humanism, and that is anti-God, anti-Christian, anti-religious, anti-moral, anti-value. We want to allow you at this time to take the bulk of this program as you see fit, to introduce yourself to the audience, your credentials pertaining to your service in our country's military and protecting our borders, including Iraq, as well as your credentials in education and your political experience and background. Please take your time at this time. Mr. Andrew Barnett, God bless you.
Thank you. I'm so very happy to be here, and thank you for having me. My name is Andre Barnett. I hail from Zanesville, Ohio. I grew up in Zanesville. I stayed there until I was 17 years old. I went to Zanesville High School and graduated there. I later left and went to Tennessee, that is Austin Peay State University, for my initial college career. I left Austin Peay and went into the military, the U.S. Army, of which I served for 5.5 years, and left under a medical discharge after falling from a helicopter in Sarajevo, Bosnia. I left the military in 2000 and went to Management Technologies International, or Mantech, where I served as one of their engineers. I left there and became a global manager for Sprint, serving to support the NATO forces in Bosnia. Left Sprint. Amazing. And went into Vanell Corporation, a subsidiary of Northrop Grumman, as their senior network engineer, developing and implementing and supporting the new Iraqi Army Training Program Network. That was in Kirkuk, Iraq. Leaving Kirkuk, Iraq, I later went to DRS, Power and Control Technologies, working on the nuclear subs and carriers for the Navy. Leaving there, I went to General Dynamics, C4 Systems, which I still supported that nuclear endeavor in various parts of the U.S. at every port. Then I actually started my own company, Wise Dome Incorporated, and I have supported every branch of the armed forces, as well as various intelligence agencies and some of the private sector as well, companies like IBM, large entities that deal with information technology and telecommunications. I decided to run for the presidency after a long, hard look at what was going on basically with my own family and friends and relatives. And it does seem a little bit like I may be self-centered in this thought, but we have to look at what's going on with our core families first. And that's how we can realize the shape of this nation. As we're watching the livelihoods and the living capacity for people in this nation degrade immensely, we have to take into account that the government has played a large role in this degradation. So when I looked at it and I saw that my family was not able to afford a lot of the things that they used to, of course, I've done well, and the Lord has blessed me immensely throughout my life and my career. So I'm able to give back and to help support my own family. Many others don't have those abilities. Many others don't have a way of escape, if you will. So I looked at my nieces, my nephews, my fiance, and her family, and I see that they're just not, they don't have the jobs that they used to. They don't have the home that they used to, and they don't have the security that they used to. These are major issues that really struck me. It's heartbreaking to see children in need. It's heartbreaking to see families being driven apart, all over money, all over the inability to live the American dream, if you will, to chase it, to pursue it, which we have that inalienable right to pursue it.
So in your thoughts, this administration, the Obama administration, has to some extent fallen off course with respect to job creation, with respect to regulation, tax policy that would help to stimulate growth in this country, and tax policy and regulation that would cause monies that have gone overseas that are being invested in areas that in fact are friendly to capital would come back to the United States, and by businesses pulling back several $1 trillion that are invested overseas into the coffers of our country would translate into them reinvesting and expanding their business footprint and creating more jobs and or giving more opportunities to the citizens and citizenry of America. You obviously then are the persuasion that there is a leadership vacuum in Washington and that the priorities are out of line. Would you say?
I would say that it's more than a vacuum in Washington for leadership. We've lost leadership a long time ago. It didn't start with the Obama campaign. However, the Obama campaign is personifying this greatly, immensely. We've lost so many jobs due to the fact that we do have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Many say the second highest, but we are in line for first. However, with a failing economy, joblessness numbers at all-time highs, this is not the time to be business unfriendly, if you will. In my plan that I put out, I basically laid out a solution that is all-encompassing. You see, it's not just the jobs that we're worried about. If the American public don't feel that the government is actually being loyal to them, then they're really not going to give back and put into the economy. We feel, I felt, I know with my own business, that the government was against me. Taxes, trying to make sure I'm current with all of the legislation that I have to put up with to keep my business running. It was very burdensome and money consuming, time consuming, personnel consuming. Revenue became very slim. So we have, and I have to look at it as mine being really a microcosm of our economy. So if we look at this today, our government can take specific action to bring jobs back. The plan that I have actually is looking at an increase of anywhere from 20 to 40 million jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about 7 million or 11, we're talking about 20 to 40 million jobs. And the way we do this is by first, we're going to have a negotiation with the corporations that are bringing these jobs back.
Mm-hmm.
We have to let them know that we are willing to bring down the corporate tax rate, and the numbers that I put in initially were 12% first off, and that would bring us within percentage points of being the lowest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of combative people from the left will say, well, you're just giving revenue to corporations, but that's not going to do anything to bring jobs back. They're just going to use the money to pay off executives and invest in other countries. Well, there's other parts of this plan that we have to look at. A series of tariffs on imports from countries that are putting high tariffs on our exports. This is going to level the playing field. Now, we've already heard businesses state openly that they would bring jobs back if the tax rate was 15%.
Mm-hmm.
At 12%, they'll begin creating new factories here in the U.S., manufacturing facilities, and that's going to expand job growth. One of the things that I've also said is we have to give back to the taxpayers, something that we don't do today. People here in the U.S. pay almost as much tax overall as people in Europe.
Mm.
People in Germany get free health care, free education. Mothers that have children don't have to go to work for 3 years. If they decide to go to work, fathers can stay at home for 3 years. We have nothing like this in the U.S. We pay almost as much taxes. In many studies that have been done, it shows that U.S. Taxpayers are paying 40% of their income in total in taxes, 45% in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
Germans pay right around 45 to 50%, and they're getting a lot more back than we are. So we have to give back to the taxpayers, and the only incentive that I have for a tax to the corporations is my premium, healthcare premiums package, and that means that if they will take on the burden of the premiums, not allowed to pass on in any way, shape, or form to their employees, I will give them 3% more tax cut than what they have currently. So that would take them down to 9%.
Mm-hmm.
Now at 9%, they're still making an enormously large amount of capital that they're going to be tax-free for the rest of it. Now, when we look at this scenario, you're going to create job growth, a large amount of job growth. We're not talking about 1,000 here or 1,000 there. Large amounts of job growth. We're also looking at allowing corporations to repatriate their funds back into the states without taxes, but we're going to do this with strings attached. We cannot allow them to repatriate their funds without investing in our infrastructure. We can't allow them to basically say, okay, we're going to repatriate our funds, but we're going to give it to our executives. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be acceptable to the American people. We've got to make sure that it's reinvested and instituted into our economic infrastructure. And at this point, we're going to be covering more people because the premiums package means that they're going to pay the health care premiums for the employees and their families. That means every person that's employed will have health care. Every family member of that person, immediate family. I don't mean mothers and fathers.
And you're speaking of health care that's being provided by the private sector.
That is correct.
Okay, not sponsored by the government, almost on the border of public option.
Well, that's the beauty of this. We're removing the government from it totally.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the government will never be able to negotiate as well